Josh.
And I'm Gordon, and welcome to the Good Turn SA first joint video, which is pretty cool.
Great. And of course, music, the ultimate connector, which is why I thought it would be great for us to do this together. Music's been a big part of your life from what I understand, and I'm really interested to unpack that. But what I thought I would do, because we've also kind of haven't known each other forever, you know, fairly new bromance, if we could call it that.
A couple of years, I think.
A couple of years at least, yeah. So maybe what you don't know is that I actually come from a fairly musical family. My gran back in the day, she was the one that would always be around the family gatherings at the piano, tinkling on the old ivories, getting the sing-songs going. And from that side of the family, we've got some very, very talented musicians, trumpeters, pianists, guitarists, and all that sort of stuff. So it was definitely something I couldn't fight. And I'm really thankful for that, because playing an instrument has really been a big thing in my life. Okay.
So one of the things I do know about Josh is give him half a chance and he'll grab an instrument. I mean, you've been hosting some open mic nights at your venue here in East London called Bay Collective, and I know when you're standing alongside the stage, you're watching those guitars being played and you're eyeing them out. A real passion of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually got my first guitar when I was 13. So I've always sort of had instruments in the house, whether it be a guitar or a keyboard or something like that. And when I got into high school, I started in the school jazz band. And I played anything and everything I could get my hands on to see what would really stick. Played the trumpet for 6 months, the piano for 6 months, I played the euphonium for 6 months, and then I played the tuba. And the tuba, I love the sound of. For those of you that don't know, a tuba is the big bop bop, exactly. The German style Oktoberfest band music that you hear.
I struggled to picture you doing that,
yes,
but okay.
Yes,
okay.
I did. I was a big, much larger lad back then too, so it might have fitted into my body sculpture shape. The euphonium is a small tuba, so that was easier to practice. What ended up happening with the tuba is it was actually too big to fit into my mom's boot of the Ford Laser, so I couldn't ever really take it home. I always had to practice at school.
Isn't it weird how everyone's parent had a Ford Laser?
Yeah, that was the stuff back then.
No.
But then I ended up playing the trombone for three and a half years, and that really stuck. And that was an instrument that I really enjoyed playing. And now I look back, because when I finished school and I was still playing that instrument, I thought to myself, oh, what am I ever going to do with the trombone?
Right.
And then a couple of years later, I stumbled into this band called Springbok Nude Girls.
Oh, wow.
And they had a trumpet.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, idiot. Why not put it down?
Could have been backing trombone for Arno Carsten.
Yeah, in a perfect world.
Love it.
But a part of that journey, the guitar has always stuck with me. And when I finished school and I sort of did this 2-year stint over in London, that kind of like working holiday thing that youngsters will do. And the only thing I made sure that I traveled with was I traveled with an acoustic guitar.
Right.
Because I traveled alone. I was 18 when I went at the time, by myself. I knew a few people there, but the whole point was to kind of get out of the roost, go and make some mistakes, figure out how to solve them, grow up as quickly as I could, and do all that sort of stuff. If I didn't have that guitar with me for those 2 years, where I could pour my sadness, my happiness, my homesickness, the successes of finding a job and manage to hold it down, after being let go from the same bar job 4 times. And when you live upstairs and you're late for work that often, it's really hard for the bosses to comprehend. But yeah, so that's a little bit about my background with music. And before I get into the stuff of more the emotive things and the power of what I feel music is,
right,
I'm really interested to know a bit about your journey. Is there an instrument that you play?
So my journey was similar to yours. There weren't necessarily instruments in the house, but I grew up in the church. My parents were very involved in the church, and there was this baby grand piano on the stage at the church. And the reverend of the church used to allow me, when I was about 5 or 6 years old, to go and sit and tinkle on the keys. And you can imagine, baby grand piano, that's stunning, right? So I grew up around musical instruments, and then obviously being in the church, going to the youth services, there was always a guitar. So, and the guy was the youth pastor. He taught me to play a couple of chords on the guitar. Picked it up relatively easily, and so yeah, the dabble between the guitar and the piano was always a thing for me. Played in a couple of bands.
Sort of what age was this around?
So from about 15, 16 years old, and then I played regularly, either in the church band or a couple of guys from the church. We formed a rock band of sorts, and we did a couple of gigs, and we were never excellent, but we always had a lot of fun. And I must be honest, just the thought of going to band practice without a plan, not knowing what was going to happen, and 6 hours later walking out of band practice and the sun's coming up, it's just mind-blowing. So yeah.
Did you have a name for that band?
I can't remember, and I think
because I'm already like, if it wasn't Jesus, Mary and Joseph, or the Kings of Nazareth, or something really cool and edgy.
It was probably something cheesy. People used to say, how do we write our songs? Well, we wrote our songs by whatever music we were listening to at the time. So there was a stage where everything sounded like Guns N' Roses, and then there was a stage where everything sounded like Pearl Jam, and then Counting Crows. And whatever we were listening to at the time, our lead singer and guitarist was an American guy called Chris Fritsch. His parents were missionaries over in South Africa. And a young American guy from Louisiana, who's still a professional muso to this day. He used to dictate the way the band went. So whatever Chris was listening to, that was the kind of music we attempted to play. We weren't very good, but we had a lot of fun.
That's all that matters.
Yes.
It's the fun aspect of it.
Right.
So that's the time with instruments, but you've been a DJ for a very long time, right?
Right, yeah. So when I was studying, I kind of lost my way and stopped going to church and started DJing at weddings, which is where it starts for all of us radio people. I played so many weddings in my life. I do apologize to all those couples that I played at their weddings in the early days because I was really crap. From there, I've always been very interested in getting into radio. I used to tell my friends when we were driving in the car, I could do it better than this guy on air, and who's this Palooka, and then eventually they got sick and tired of me saying that. So they booked an audition at a community station in Johannesburg and dropped me off one Saturday morning and said, now put up or shut up. Go and do the interview or the audition. If they say you're horrible, then stop talking nonsense. And I went in and I auditioned, and that was the only time I've ever applied for a radio job in my life. The rest of it's been offered.
So now that we've kind of got our musical history and everything out there, that we both kind of understand each other a lot more, there's a bit of a standing joke in my close group of friends that somehow I'm able to sit in my garage alone for hours with a Bluetooth speaker and a couple of beers.
Doesn't even have to be a good sound system.
Just a really Bluetooth
speaker, right?
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
I think some of them think I'm fairly psychotic, probably sitting there talking to the walls and whatever, that I can be in my own company.
Some of them may be right.
For so long. I'm not denying it. I'm not denying it. But, the first thing is I'm really comfortable in my own company. That's a big thing.
Right.
But what music does, and what it's always done for me, is it allows me to compartmentalize things that are actually going on in my life in the moment.
Yes.
So it's an absolute coping mechanism for me. And those times when I am alone and it's just me and the music, I can find songs that, it doesn't matter how many times I've heard them, I can put something on, and in that moment, it'll mean something entirely different to me. Right. Which is what I always found is really, really interesting about what the power of music can be. So there's something to be said about utilizing music as a tool to assist you to go through things. So like I mentioned in the reel, I have various playlists that have different purposes for me at different times. We all find ourselves on some form of emotional roller coaster often.
Right.
Whether it be in a really good way or it be in a really sad way. So I have these playlists, and if I'm looking at something that specifically is about dealing with some form of hurt or anguish or depression or anything like that, that I might be on that cusp of just not feeling really happy about stuff, there's music that I will be able to sit down, listen to, get on that journey, and it manages to assist me to unpack that luggage.
And you have a specific playlist for that?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you ever find yourself listening to a song where you go, that'll grow well in my motivational playlist, or I need to add that
Absolutely.
to my when I need to focus playlist, or when I'm having friends over for okay.
All the time.
All right.
What I do find is, because I've always sort of been somewhat of a rocker, if you could call it that, there is a playlist of faster, punkier, hard rockier sort of stuff that I use.
Indie, a little bit of indie.
There's indie, but there's an indie playlist for that.
Right.
Okay,
that's another playlist.
That's my feel good stuff. Which you'll hear at the Bay Collective.
All right.
Indie playlist is that's my feel good music.
Love it.
That's why it's here.
Good music.
So if I've got something that's I'm really dialed in and focusing on. So it's a business idea, or a new kind of a concept, or something that I just want to overcome, or there's a hurdle, and I can feel I'm getting into that sort of zone where you kind of start to really focus in. That's what I'm going to overcome. Then I've got this playlist that's fast, it's hard, it's punky, and it's amazing how I can use that to get a lot of frustration and energy and channel that all into something that starts to make sense for me. It becomes a tool, becomes an absolute tool for me. So I just don't know, when I think about it now, certainly what my life would be like without music. I know it wouldn't be pleasant at all.
Right.
What I'm interested to know is, if you look at what modern music is now, and everyone always says, we're guilty of that. We have decades parties.
Yeah.
Because we listen to the classics.
Yeah.
And if you hear a Fleetwood Mac song now, you hear a Fleetwood Mac song whenever it was written, that'll stand the test of time. And what's really interesting for me is how many artists in modern music will stand the test of time. And I'm very interested to hear your take on that.
So there's a couple of things that I want to, the way you've just described you segmenting your playlists is very, very interesting for me, because I have a similar passion for music, but perhaps I take it from a slightly different point of view, because you grew up very differently to me. I sometimes go as far as becoming artist specific, like not just genre specific. I'll be like, we always knew when my sister, growing up at home, was in a bad mood, because you walked in and you heard Tracy Chapman. So if you heard Tracy Chapman, leave her alone. Do not speak to her. She will kill you.
I shed so many tears to that album,
Right.
Fast Car, as a child. Yeah.
So I go very artist specific as well. When I spoke about breaking up with my first girlfriend and leaving Johannesburg, moving to the Eastern Cape, at the time Joshua Caddison had just come out. It was 1995, and Painted Desert Serenade was the album, and so Joshua became my I'm still okay and I'll be all right artist, and I still do it today. Like if I'm feeling kind of down on myself, I grab my playlist, Joshua Caddison, Jesse, or picture postcards from LA,
Jesse paints a picture.
And that's so I go in a little. I don't just go genre. I go artist specific. So that's the one thing. The other thing is, you talk about nostalgia, decades parties, and the like. There's a reason why there's a music industry, is because music emotes so many different things in people, but it's universal. You may not even be able to understand the language. There are people in Europe and certain Balkan countries, perhaps in Asia, that don't understand English but can sing every word of the song because they love the way it makes them feel. And that's what makes music so powerful. It reminds you of a feeling or a sensation, or even a place. You and I were chatting in pre-production. When I hear Underworld, Underneath the Radar, it's got that weird kind of electric synth start to it. Just 2 seconds of that, and I'm immediately back at the ice rink in Johannesburg with my skates on, getting ready for a training session. Skating.
I can just close my
smell
eyes
the ice and the wet rubber, and so that's how powerful music is. Josh, you talk about whether modern artists will survive and create a legacy. In the late 1950s and the 1960s, the birth of rock and roll. And swing at the time had been the biggest thing that was around there. Swing bands, what was it? Was it Glenn? Forget his name. Putting on the Ritz, that kind of swing vibe had been the thing. And all of a sudden, it came these young punks with fringes that were too long and guitars, and everyone was like, "Whoa, what's this about?" Then in the 70s came people wearing bell-bottom pants with afros who were white, and they were dancing to the sounds of the Bee Gees, etc. Then the 80s came. I think the 80s, for me, it's the greatest era of music ever, sort of 80s into mid-90s, because it was anything goes, and the more off the wall you are, the better it was, which I really liked. But throughout each of these changes in musical direction, there were people going, it's not as good as ours was. And where you are now in the music industry, because it's digital and it's online, and it's formulaic. There are a lot of record companies that just produce, they've got a formula on how to make a hit song. The beats are the same, the chord changes are the same, the keys are the same, and you can literally, I don't know if you've seen, there's been those videos online where one guy is playing the same 4 chords and he sings like 8 different songs. So those, I don't think those will stand the test of time. But then there are some really great songwriters out there that are writing good songs and recording good songs. I think those, so the bubblegum stuff, I think will fade
as always
into grey. But the real artists, the true artists who are great lyricists, and as you said earlier, that storytelling, I think those are the guys that in 10 years' time will still be as popular as they are
100%. And so I'll give you an artist now, sort of in closing. There's a kid named Sam Fender.
Right.
He wrote his first album, I think he was 20 or turning 21. He was scouted as a pub musician. He's a Scouser in the UK. This kid is like a blend of Bruce Springsteen, and there's just so much soul. His lyric ability is radical. The music is great. I think he's got 4 albums out now. I listen to every single one of them back to back when I brow on a Sunday. That's something you got to check out.
Hey,
amazing stuff. Oh, well, sorry, man. Sorry.
Okay, I'll counterpunch Sam Fender with 2 of my favorite lyricists and vocalists. Chris Martin, Coldplay. Some people hate Coldplay, but I love them because they've got a song for everything in my life. Adventure of a Lifetime is one of those sort of anthemic songs for my life. And then Chris and then Adam Levine from Maroon 5. If you look where Maroon 5 started as your typical pop group. And where they are now, I mean, in 2020, was there any better song that read the moment better than the song Memories? Here's to the ones that we've lost, you know.
Sure.
I mean, so I think people like Chris Martin, Adam Levine, and there are others, will still be as good in 10 years' time, if not better than they are right now.
I think the moral of the story here, I've shared what music does for me, but you've got to ask yourself the question, what does music do for you? Because if you're at a stage in your life where you've always wondered, can I pick up an instrument? Is it too late for me to learn? The answer is no. If you just want to enjoy listening to music, then just listen to it. But if the fire in your belly, regardless of how old you are, is to pick up an instrument and learn something new, put the phone down, stop scrolling, pick up an instrument and learn how to play it. You'll find it's amazing what you can do when you've got something that's a part of you that you can channel your energy into, make something beautiful with. Nothing ever has to be a hit song to move people. I know I've written heaps of stuff that'll never see the light of day, but when I'm alone, pick up my guitar and I sing that song to myself, it makes me smile. That's what music is. It's supposed to make you happy. It's supposed to help you through the times when you're sad. Music will always be the ultimate connector, and I implore you, don't ever let music die for you. Do something more with it, because you deserve it, right? So, again, maybe the way I'll end this is Mr. Springer would say, take care of you and enjoy.